Is it ever worth it to sue somebody? Well, it depends. Most all of the time, we would say no. Litigation is expensive, it takes a long time, and it's taking longer and longer as time goes on. And most of the time, it's just not worth it. You could be caught up in litigation for months or even years on end, paying attorneys, racking up huge attorney's fees, and then you don't even get paid until after the judgment settles, and after you get something in, the person that you're suing could be bankrupt. So it's not always worth it. Most of the time, it's not worth it. It's better to just settle the dispute, cut a check at the beginning, and get rid of it as soon as possible. If your business is able to afford to do that, that's definitely the way to go. There are alternatives to litigation like arbitration. Arbitration is essentially when you select an arbitrator, typically from a board like the American Arbitration Association or some other pool of people, and they arbitrate the dispute, which means they just settle it. They sit down with both of the parties, they make it as simple as possible and settle the dispute. If there's already a complaint filed, you submit that to the court and that closes the case. A lot of times that's getting more expensive too. Arbitrators are getting expensive. You got to pay for the hotel, you got to pay to show up, you got to pay the fees, somebody's got to pay for those expenses. So really the best thing is to settle it with the other party as soon as possible, because the reality is as soon as you get lawyers involved, the parties can't talk to each other anymore. They have to talk to the lawyers, and that makes things way more efficient, because guess what? The lawyers are incentivized to actually get something out of this case and to fight against each other. So if you want to get lawyers involved and file a complaint, just know that you're going down a road that's really, really hard to go back on without a lot of expense and a lot of headache. So arbitration is typically better, but even arbitration is getting much more expensive. So the best thing to do is to settle the case as quickly as possible if you can. If it's over a certain amount that you have to make a judgment on based on what your revenue is, it's definitely worth filing a lawsuit if you really need to get your money back or if somebody really wronged you. I would save it for very, very rare instances because it's very, very often not worth it. And a lot of companies get involved in litigation, and that's the end of the company because they get so bogged down in the process and so bogged down in the cost and expense that it's just not worth it.